Shot put, suplex, X-kick, feint jump. Long ago, the four specials were used together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Helikick attacked. Only auto-cancel Fair, master of ultimate cheese, could stop them. But when the Brawlers needed it most, it vanished. 15 patches passed and Sakurai invented a new kind of cheese, an up special named Thrupper. And although its potential is great, the Brawlers still had a lot to learn before they could rob anyone. But I believe Thrupper can save the Brawlers. Brawler mains have always argued about which specials are the definitive best ones. And while Shot Put, Suplex and Feint Jump have always been on the top, even if FMP is a new valid rival for Shot Put now, the largest debate has always been and still is between the up specials. Is it trusty SAK with its insane range, recovery and cheese? Is it the deadly and feared Helikick used by some of Brawler's greatest reps? Or is it the newcomer Thrust Uppercut with amazing stage picks and combo trees? The answer I usually give is, well, it depends. Because honestly, it does depend on whether your goal is being consistent or whether you just want a cheesy secondary. But not this time. With the final balance patch being released, it is time to once and for all give a definitive answer to the question, which of Brawler's up specials is the single best one? You know how it goes on this channel, I'm not just gonna give you my opinion and say it's a fact, we don't do that here. That would be way too easy and take no effort at all, and because I'm a masochistic stats freak, we'll do it the right way. The scientific way. In other words, we're gonna compile all the good and bad points of all our specials, discuss them, test them, and finally evaluate our results. This might sound boring to a lot of you, but don't click off the video just yet, because I already did all that boring stuff for you. So sit back, relax, and be ready for some scientific roasts. I asked you guys on Twitter what you think Brawler's best up special is, and asked you to give your reasoning as well. To evaluate those reasons, I looked at a total of 45 games from high and top level Brawlers, all using different up specials. I took notes on various things like how many times someone killed with an up B, at what percents, how many times a person got edge guarded, etc. There were some problems in getting those data, but we'll get to that later. Now that we have something to validate our claims with, let's take a look at some of the reasons you guys mentioned. SAK, because it's great out of shield and makes sword matchups winnable. This one is difficult to argue through facts. Saying a matchup is unwinnable is impossible, although there is evidence for Brawlers struggling against characters like Shulk when looking at high and top level Brawler representation. Whether SAK fixes that issue is impossible to say though, as to be honest, there are very few top Brawlers who still use SAK, and even less VODs against sword characters. But we can compare how up specials get used out of shield. And in that regard, SAK does pull ahead of the other specials. Helikick was only used successfully out of shield one time in 5 games on average, Thrupper once every second game, while SAK was used more than once every game. Relatively speaking, this makes SAK a way better out of shield option than the other specials. But you do have to consider, this number is nothing compared to the average Game & Watch or Captain Falcon match. So you can make the argument of SAK being a better out of shield option, but if that really makes a difference is questionable. Especially as Brawler already has 3 other insane options. The next one is SAK because of cheese. And this definitely is technically correct. Depending on the games you look at, average kill percents can lie as low as 30% because first it's used to gain a lead through 2-framing, then you go for the suicide kill and that's it. What makes it hard to argue for though is its consistency. I gotta be honest, I couldn't really find any top level Brawler matches from the last 2 years where SAK was the preferred up special. All top players have either switched to Thrupper or switched character, so I only had a few sets to analyze. But from the limited data, I could at least kind of confirm my doubts. While average kill percents were at a staggeringly low 100.3%, the overall standard deviation was at around 50%. Just to quickly explain, the standard deviation describes how much the data sway from the average. A deviation as high as 50% show how inconsistent SAK is, with tons of early kills but just as many stocks going to very high percent. Just to compare, Helikick's standard deviation was at 35%, already a lot more consistent, and Thrupper's only at 30%. So we can conclude, SAK does offer the greatest cheese potential for the earliest of stocks, but it's also the least consistent one. And I predict that at top level, the amount of early stocks would go down more and more, eventually leading to SAK's downfall in kill potential. Helikick because it kills so early. This is a common one and the Helicult's most used argument. It just kills early. The end. And well, in theory they are at least kinda right. Down tilt and down throw are decent setups, just like landing up air, but does that make Helikick superior to other up specials? Well, the average kill percents for Helikick lied at 113%. Keep in mind, I only looked at offline sets and used the damage before the first combo starter in case of a true combo as a reference. Meaning if you got an up air at 60% into another up air into Helikick, after which the opponent was at 90%, the kill percent noted down would still be 60%, as that's where the true combo started. 113% doesn't sound bad. What about the other specials? Well, Thrupper lies at only 110% and has a smaller standard deviation as we found out earlier. So not only is Thrupper more consistent at killing, it also kills early on average. End of discussion. Or is it? We have one more variable to look at. Did Thrupper actually manage to kill anyone? Or was it just dumb luck or player difference? Because that's a reasonable assumption, I also analyzed how often an up special actually took a stock, compared to other kill moves like Gaegel or up smash. What do you think? Which one was the better kill move overall? Let me know your guess in the comments. The answer is, again, thrust uppercut. Helikick on average took 26% of all stocks in a set, so just about 1 in 4 stocks. Thrupper on the other hand took, on average, 36% of all stocks, so more than 1/3. To conclude, Thrupper kills earlier, kills more consistent, and takes more stocks in general. Some of you might be confused now how it's possible for Helikick to take this little stocks even though you hit down tilt Helikick all the time. Well, the reason for that might be positioning. What I noticed in all the sets I watched is that brawlers like Riziazu or especially Aetheta were definitely able to hit quite a lot of down tilts and down throws into Helikick, but almost none of those confirms actually led to a kill. Only those right at ledge after a neutral get up or a weak nair were able to take a stock. And if that didn't work, well, Thrupper was just straight up better at taking raw stocks. Let's look at some more interesting stats. For example, recovery. How do the 3 uppies compare in that regard? This is of course heavily matchup dependent, but overall Helikick is, once again, the most vulnerable one, with 19% of death occurring due to getting hit off stage. Partially through spikes from above, but also through the sheer inability to recover vertically. Thrupper on the other hand experienced only 6% offstage deaths, SAK 5%, and people who are subscribed to the channel 0%. A lot of factors, especially this one, is heavily matchup dependent, and even though I spent 4 hours watching through Brawler sets on 2x speed, I couldn't nearly cover a sufficient amount of different matchups. One of the SAK sets, for example, was against a Terry, a character very prone to getting 2 frames per SAK, leading to more early kills than on something like a Pikachu. I wish I had more data to analyze, but there simply aren't any VODs of high and top level brawlers playing SAK, and even the Helikick sets I found on YouTube are limited. So with all the statistical comparisons out of the way, the only thing left to discuss are some theoretical arguments. While these are of course a lot more subjective, I will try to argue for both sides and justify the decision I make. Thrupper creates the highest amount of threats. Helikick's main threat lie in unexpected down tilts, down throws and landing up airs. Whenever you're at center stage, or at least not at ledge, you are in next to no threat of dying to Helikick. Sure, there are optimized combo routes that can escort the opponent right to the blast zone. You don't have to tell me, I invented those. But realistically speaking, these just don't happen. At least not in the meta Brawler is in right now. SAK has quite different threats. You cannot go and edgeguard an SAK Brawler, and if you play a vulnerable character, you really have to mix up your recoveries to not get cheesed. Other than that, SAK doesn't really offer any immediate threats, even if it forces the opponent to space their areas differently. Even suicide combos are only possible if you're already in the lead. The higher the level of play goes, the more important things like stage positioning become, which drastically reduces SAK's threat power. Now Thrupper on the other hand. Thrupper has an infinite amount of possible kill confirms and combo routes. down throw from ground, down throw from plats, up tilt, down tilt, up air into IDG up air thrapper, down tilt rising auto cancel up air IDJ up air thrapper. You can never ever sleep on this move. And this is something Helikick and SAK just can't offer. SAK is the most versatile. This argument is in a way true. SAK does have the most different uses by far. Edge guarding, ledge trapping, setting up tech chases, out of shield, anti-air, after footstool, suicide combos, the list goes on. The problem is that it's not Brawler's only move that can do all that. Nutri-Air is already a great ledge trapping tool, down air can 2-frame and edge guard, F-tilt can set up techs, suplex is an insane out of shield option, so even if SAK can fill all these roles very well, it's not the best in all of them. And that takes away a lot of value from it, even if Helikick and Thrapper are in general a lot less versatile. In fact, if you look at Riziazu as an example, his whole neutral is basically nothing else but neutral air, forward air and the occasional back air. He simply has no need for other moves, which makes it clear how good Brawler's kit works already without SAK. Thrapper is good against shields. This is straight up true in most matchups. Brawler can mash on opponents quite hard, which is countered by shielding, which in turn gets countered by grabs. Thrapper then makes Brawler's grab game a lot scarier, with kill confirms and just more damaging combos. Helikick also kind of has that, but only at the corner, which makes it a lot more situational. I think with that I discussed pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. So, which of Brawler's up specials, by scientific standards, and completely objectively subjectively judged, is the best one? It is... Come on, of course it's Thrapper. Helikick obviously can't rival it. We saw that when comparing average kill percents. After that there was no hope left for it. SAK gave it a good run for its money, but you have to consider, not a single high or top level brawler of my knowledge still solo mains SAK. Is that because nobody knows how to use it? Because its meta is just underdeveloped? I don't think so. SAK's counter pick potential is definitely there, and I myself will also still use it against Shulk or Lucina, but does it have a better matchup spread than Thrapper? On top level? No. Realistically speaking, it is too inconsistent and offers too little of what Brawler doesn't already have. Thrapper though combines the ridiculous kill confirms Helikick has, improves them, and complements the rest of Brawler's kit. There's no way SAK could rival that. So in my opinion, Thrapper is the single best special for a solo main, no moveset switching Brawler. SAK comes on number 2 and Helikick on last place. Of course, I need to give a disclaimer at the end. I still think all up specials are viable and you can win any matchup with any of them if you are better than your opponent. Except for maybe Shulk. That is simply because Ultimate is such a well-balanced game. So if you prefer a different special, then go ahead and use it. If you use all 3 of them depending on matchup, even better, I encourage that. But if you want to know the single best up special, then I think it's Thrust Uppercut. I prefer SAK, but I'm a degenerate who enjoys killing at 0%. Yeah, can't argue with that, SAK best move in the game.